Hello everyone. Now I know that many of you are studying this degree because you are interested in going into events. Events is the most popular topic of study within the BIDM program. So today we're going to talk about events, and I do like to keep events a little bit separate from when I actually discuss MICE, because MICE does tend to be a little bit more business focused. Events are often very business focused, but they're also very social. So I do like to split them up a little bit when we discuss them. So the first thing I wanted to mention was why is it that events are so important? Events are more than just making money, and they're more than just having a good time. They are more and more central to society than ever before, and every year that really increases. And the reason for that is because people have more leisure time, they have more money to spend. People like to take their weekends, they like to take their holidays, they save up. Hopefully they save up instead of putting everything on a credit card. But they like to be able to go do things. So we've seen this big increase in public events, celebrations, entertainment. Very often when we read the essays for this class, we hear lots of people talking about concerts, various different music festivals, sporting events, whether it's the Broncos or whether it's a major event like the Grand Prix or the Australian Open. So because of this leisure bit, the events have become quite important. However, events are also very important on a more formal level, such as governments and businesses, okay? So both of them are holding events, and government and businesses really see events as a way of showcasing themselves to constituents, being able to attract different markets, or market segments, I should say. Governments really like to hold events because it gives them the opportunity to develop the economy a little bit more. Very often countries use it as a positive way of PR. So for instance, when China held the Olympics in 2008, that was a big reason that they did it, and they really showcased themselves and said, we are now open to the world, we want you to come here and visit. So it was a way of marketing the destination. Now, it's really important to take note of the fact that, and you've probably heard this in this class before, that tourism, hospitality, and events, they all work together. And it's really, really obvious here how there is so much collaboration with the tourism side, with the hospitality side when events are held. Okay, so when we're talking about tourism, people need to get transportation. So whether an event is a major international event and they're taking flights, or whether an event is taking place, for instance, at South Bank, and so they're taking public transportation, or they're getting themselves there, whatever it may be. But there is certainly that aspect. Certainly the destination marketing, and in some cases the destination creation. So for instance, when a lot of different host destinations hold something, they actually have to create other activities, they have to create other attractions in order to give people other things to do outside of just the event itself. So these various different tourism activities they may be participating in. So for instance, this photo at the bottom is a photo from the Melbourne Cup. Obviously, that is a horse race. However, there are tons of other things that take place. There's fashion shows, there's parties, there's receptions, there are news conferences and PR that's going on. So there's a lot more than just the horse racing that takes place. On the hospitality side, again, we've got lots of things to consider. People are maybe coming in from out of town, so they're going to need accommodation, whether we're talking about 5-star accommodation or whether we're discussing people staying at campgrounds like they do when they go to Splendor in the Grass. Obviously, they're going to be away from home, so they're probably going to need to buy some food and beverage. They're probably looking for other entertainment, potentially gaming or other recreation options. So this is really where we see this big collaboration happening between all these different sectors within our industry. So to put into perspective some of these different kinds of events, whether we're talking about special events or whether we're talking about business events, I just wanted to break these up a little bit for you. So naturally, we do have lots of leisure events that take place, whether that's sport, recreation, various different hobbies. Lots of people, of course, personal events are very important. I do not know how many of you want to be wedding planners, but typically every year we have at least a handful of students that want to be wedding planners. But people hold all kinds of other personal events. You know, there are birthdays, there are anniversaries, family reunions. You may not think about funerals as an event, but in reality, that's exactly what it is. You know, very often there's a lot more going on when those are held, so we certainly do have planners that deal with those. On the other side, we've got cultural. And this can range from various different, art, obviously. So we have lots and lots of events held at the Art Museum and other museums. Heritage, so heritage homes, whether that's various different historic places or areas of importance to a particular culture or nation. Ceremonies, whether they're sacred, religious, but lots of different cultural events take place. And then, of course, we do have those organizational events. Very often they are commercial, they may be political. So think about the various different political events that are held, whether somebody's running for office or campaigning. Charitable events are held. Fundraising is very important. Sales events. All of those are things that we may be considering. And when you're considering, if you want to go into events, you need to really keep these things in mind because there's a lot more than just sports events or just music events or just, weddings. There's a lot of other types of events that are held, places that you can get lots of experience and that you should consider for your future careers and internships. So first of all, we just wanted to give kind of a basis for different types of events. So when we're talking about these special events, very often we are talking about these one-time or occasional events. They don't often take very long, so it's a limited duration. They're giving the consumer some kind of leisure or social opportunity that they don't necessarily have every day. Very often these are attracting tourists, and very often they're held to raise the profile of a region, whether it's a region's image, their awareness, people's understanding of a particular region. So just to give you an idea, we have, you can certainly go to the park. Maybe there may be a festival on or that's recurring or maybe you're just kind of going there for the weekend. That's going to be a lot different than, for instance, the Olympics, okay? So really having a weekend picnic, not really a special event. Having the Olympics, yes. Olympics only happens once every 4 years. It only lasts a couple of weeks. People gain a whole new view of the location. So these things are always very important. So considering a few different types of special events, there are a few to consider. Those of you who are taking events classes, you'll go into a lot more detail on these later on. And these are in descending order from largest to smallest, okay? So if you take a look at this particular graph, this kind of helps you out. So size of event, your mega events, those are the largest in terms of people. A lot of times you might be talking about 500,000 or 1 million people. Very often you're talking about like $500,000. These are your must-see events. So they're significant, they have the size, they have prestige, typically lots and lots of media coverage. The host community gets a lot of value out of hosting it. So things like the Sydney Olympic Games, that was a big mega event for Australia. Okay, and then you have hallmark events. So not as many people as your mega events. But again, very often they are held in an effort to gain profitability for the destination, whether it be short-term or long-term. Very often, I know that we've talked about sense of place and the importance of the destination here. So very often we're talking about heightening the awareness of the destination, and that identity of the destination, the importance of the sense of place and culture within that area, but you just don't have as many people. So, for instance, let's think about like Oktoberfest held in Munich in Germany, or Carnival held in Rio. You are talking about lots of people. You are really talking about people who are there for a particular reason. They're really identifying the destination with that reason, and that is why they're going. Your major events, again, these are a bit smaller than your hallmark events. It might be attracting international attendees, but certainly not at the level that your hallmark or your mega events are. More likely, you're probably attracting attendees from interstate. And then, of course, your local or community events definitely are smaller and not as high profile. So, for instance, Brisbane's River Fire probably is more of a local community event. It might be a little bit towards that major event because people may come in from other states or other cities, but probably not from internationally to see them. So this is really how we categorize these different kinds of special events. As you get into your events class, you'll be a bit more familiar. You'll learn more about this, but at the very least, you should be familiar with these particular terms at this point because you will hear these terms used quite often.